Steve Cox, you're on the top of my screen here. So let's start with you.
Well, I think I'd lead that by saying that when I first got here, I didn't know a lot about the business platforms that KKW used. And so I asked a lot of questions. It wasn't necessarily in my wheelhouse, but I did hear a number of frustrations with the platform we were on. And we did not have an asset management piece to it, and that was a goal. Every time we saw a demo of an asset management piece of our current platform, it was a utter failure. And so I listened and listened and listened a lot and said, you know what? If nothing else, we need to do an evaluation of our current platform and have somebody help us make it do what it's supposed to do. And if it can't, then let's consider others.
Okay, thank you. Kathleen, what I would say is in most utilities I've been in, if I walk up to the supervisor of customer service and billing and I say, hey, by the way, you're getting a new billing system, I see this look that looks more like a horror film. What made you want to do that, or were you convinced to do it? What was that process like?
Well, actually, I'll credit it to the new management. I know he did start asking a lot of questions. I think we'd been doing it so long, we didn't know what was broken. Brought in a consultant, identified where our problems were. And I went from an avid, no way am I going to switch billing systems, to really being on board and embracing it. So.
As a follow-on question to that, what was the point when all of a sudden you went, wow, this is so broken that I'm excited? What was that moment, or what was?
Well, I think part of it was we did many demos of different software platforms. I would say probably close to 8, if not more. And it was done in a way we called it speed dating. So it was like really quick, half an hour. No fluff, no bravado. We actually asked the questions, our team, like, this doesn't work for us right now, show it to us. And they did. And we kind of went from that 8, narrowed out a couple immediately, and then went back for a second, try, and a third try, I believe, before we really got it nailed down.
Hey, Drew, I think one of those aha moments, though, was when we were actually evaluating the latency of the customer service platform. And we had a little customer who actually liked to pay her bill weekly. She liked to come in and pay $5 every week. And the latency that created in the system was ridiculous. We would sit there for 90 seconds or more to have a screen open up. And the consultant who happened to be there said, that's not just latency, that's broken. And we didn't know it.
Yeah. It was when you pull back the onion on it, the onion layer, and you see below it, it's actually, as your gut is right. Steve Gregoire, on, I know you're doing a meter reading system software upgrade, but on the asset management side, I would say in most of the utilities we work with, you have pushed your system to the most. Can you give me some insight on when you guys did switch from paper and maps to asset management system, and how did that go?
I've got an interesting perspective on all of this, because I took a route that I hope some people get to take, but not everyone will. When I came in the industry in 2007, I was a mechanic, and I started as a distribution tech, ground level, mowing lawns. Just wanted to get in the industry, and worked my way up to where I am now through meter reading, and then got into the treatment plant. Saw what technology can do working at a treatment plant, getting promoted, coming back to distribution while running the whole ship, and seeing, wow, there's a lot of need here for automation. When I started, we were still reading meters with the meter books, where you walk to each house, touch the gun, wrote the number down for 4,800 houses. And it was easy to see where your deficiencies were, where your inefficiencies were. And the same thing with asset management. We were, as you mentioned earlier, we were taking a gigantic map of the town and highlighting a street yellow this year when we exercised all the gate valves. And you've got this map on the wall with just highlighted colors all over it. Looks like you, you know, brought it into kindergarten and let the kids go crazy on it, connecting the dots. And I try to always take the perspective of make it better for the next generation. And don't ever use the phrase, that's how we've always done it, because it's so easy to get trapped in that rabbit hole. So we implemented an asset management system in 16, huge benefits there in time management, record keeping. And now, like you had mentioned earlier, we're upgrading our meter software. Again, in 07, we had no software. It was paper, it was books, stacks and stacks of meter books. We went to Itron in 2012. And now we're upgrading to the newest version of Itron as we speak. I don't even have access to get into it yet, but you know, you can see that the customers have more needs. They want to know why their bill's high. They want to see that historical graph, and you can make that stuff manually. But the newer systems out there will do it for you if you learn how to leverage it.
So one of the things I'd like, when you decided you wanted asset management, what did the town, what did Whitewater say when you're like, hey, we've been doing it this way. You know, this is the way we've always done it, right? None of our utilities, we ever hear that, right? That's like the common term. How did you get them to make that leap? I mean, what was?
So we started small. We decided we were going to work on our backflow program, which was still on carbon paper. And we were going to work on our gate valves. It was a very small buy-in at the time, just a few user logins to the system. That's where we vetted many systems. And so the buy-in wasn't huge at first, and we've kind of built it out incrementally from there. And since then, the town, the DPW director, has seen the value of it and has supported that investment each year to grow our assets. They've now implemented it on the sewer system. They're working on catch basins. They're working on actually cemeteries. We're learning how to use it for cemetery management. Not to be too morbid, but yeah, it's the buy-in's been good because they can see it grow. I didn't drop this huge anchor on them and say, oh my God, it's going to cost us this much money. I showed them the value first, and then we grew it from there.
Okay, it's interesting because, you know, saying that, you know, if you look at like a demo of an asset management system, it does everything, right? And who wants to take on that project? Where if you say we're going to use it just for this. You've had just knowing what you've done, and, you know, I think you are basically the super user of your particular platform in the country. So that's, I think, a great track record on that. Wayne, over to you. Go ahead. Yeah.
We started so small because we also knew that if I threw this massive system and 10 tablets at my crew, that some of the guys, especially I'm one of them now, but some of the more silver staff members were going to throw back at me, and it was going to fail. So we just started small, started incrementally, got that staff buy-in so that you weren't hearing chirping in the background about people being unhappy. And that always gets back to the town. So we got like everybody on different layers and different levels on board with it.
I think you're touching on I think what I have seen is the biggest issue, right? Why am I going to take the risk of coming up with a new idea and getting it implemented, fighting for the budget, and then get maybe attacked by my own people because it's painful, right? There's no system implementation that isn't painful. Wayne, you are the guy that almost everybody on this call has to go to first to open up the checkbook. From an accountant perspective, I know how accountants are known for being wild and crazy and risky, as in no. How did you look at that when you were getting, hey, we want to upgrade some systems? What was, what it was going to impact you on the accounting side of your accounting system that's being upgraded, but also the money, and you answer directly to, you know, your board. How did you deal with that?
Well, first of all, I like to say accountants actually make, actuaries make accountants look exciting. So I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but Yeah, it was an interesting task because initially, just to say, we had taken an overview of all of our departments at Steve's lead to really look at everything holistically and what everyone was doing. And what quickly surfaced was our needs to change our business platforms. And when we got to that realization and got to the acceptance ourselves, we realized we couldn't just make those management decisions and push it out to everybody. We worked on the buy-in, as you say. We did that with our internal staff, but we also did it with the board. We had a committee, I think of, I don't know, at least a dozen people. And one of them was one of our board of trustees who was in the utility field. He's retired now, but had significant knowledge of software. So he was sort of a little more objective because he's a board member, but because he's not here day to day. And so it all gelled together to come up to, I think, a comprehensive result. But I'd have to say there's certainly fear in my mind. How much is this going to cost? We all know that costs are rising. And when I was pleasantly surprised when we pulled it all together and compared the incremental cost or difference from our existing platform to where we were headed, and adding asset management, which we didn't even have. And so there was an incremental increase in cost, but it was really pennies considering the cost of some asset management systems out there.
I think the no matter, whether it's new mainline pipe, new software, somebody's got to, get that. So showing that ROI, the return on investment, why are we spending this money? I'm a taxpayer in my town. My town says they want to spend $30 million. What am I getting out of it? Is it really good enough? So I think that buy-in is critical.